Hello guys and welcome back to the channel. As I promised, here is the guide for the Christmas event 2022, aka Karnamas. As I explained before in my community post, this will probably be my last full guide for quite a while, so if you find this type of content useful, please let me know by leaving a like, a comment or subscribing to the channel. That way I will try my best to get back at doing this type of guides once I'll be able to spare again some free time in the future. Since this will be quite a long video, I will put timestamps in the description as usual. Everything I covered should be useful, but this way if you are interested in something in particular, you'll be able to find it quite easily. We'll start with a quick event overview, covering in order the event Limited CEs, with suggested usage for both the gacha and the Lotto CEs, the event bonus servants with the best DPS for farming in this event, the welfare Karna saber with suggested usage as DPS and as support, the new SSR Vritra with her strong and weak points compared to older DPS, the new rank up for Beowulf, and the split summon banner with Martha, aka the dark side of the new PT system, the event limited command codes with the new best option for solo servants, and finally a quick overview of the lottery, together with the event free quests you'll be farming in order to spin this lottery. In the second part of this video we will focus on the farming efficiency, comparing the event single nodes to the final mixed node, the level 90+, when it comes to both shop currencies farming and lotto currency farming. Then I will give an in-depth comparison between the two final nodes, the single level 90 heavyweight node and the mixed level 90+ super heavyweight node, comparing their drop rates for lotto currencies, Lotto CEs, Ascension Materials, as well as the differences in QP farming and bond farming. In the third and final part of the video, I will give you quite an extensive list of all the possible 3 turns farming setups for both the single level 90 heavyweight node as well as the mixed level 90+ super heavyweight node. As usual, we will find all types of comps in this part, with all the arts, quick and buster DPS available, and of course even the best free-to-player setups. Starting with the event Limited CEs, since we have a lottery this time around, the only really useful CE for farming will be the Lotto CE, of which you can get max 4 copies from the event shop. When it comes to the usual 3 gacha CEs, you will only use them when filling for missing Lotto CE at the beginning, before buying all 4 copies from the event shop, and before getting your first CE drop while farming. Afterwards, you'll only use them after maximum breaking 1 Lotto CE, before getting your next CE drop, to get some extra currency drops while farming, for example, the level 90+ final mixed node. If you really don't like farming this final level 90+ mixed node, you can also use the gacha CEs for farming the single currency nodes in order to clear the event shop. This is by far not the optimal choice, as we will discuss in the second part of this video, focusing on the farming efficiency, since for this event you really want to prioritize the Lotto currency. The event shop will be naturally cleared if you farm enough as you should the final level 90+ mixed node, even without any gacha CE. Focusing then on the Lotto CE, this time around we are blessed with a very good one, at least compared to the previous Lotto event, the dance tournament in the Land of Shadows, in particular because this Lotto CE gives you starting MP charge, 30% at base and 50% when maximally broken. It's thanks to this starting MP charge that I will only focus on 6 slot farming setups in the third and final part of this video. The NP damage buff will benefit all DPS, in particular the ones without special damage or event bonus damage, while the quick buff will help with quick looping and even when using single target quick DPS in the final level 90 plus mixed node. If we compare this new Lotto CE with the previous Traces of Christmas CE, the best option for quick looping. Thanks to the NP damage buff, the new CE has slightly higher damage, but not so much since it doesn't have pure attack stat like Traces. And since it doesn't have any NP gain buff, Traces has better refund, which is the stricter requirement for quick looping. In other words, outside this event, you'll still be using Traces of Christmas for quick looping. In particular, in my farming setups, I will only use a level 20 Lotto CE for both base and maximally unbroken copies, since as I stated before, it has no pure attack stat, so leveling it up to 100 doesn't really give you a noticeable amount of extra damage. The other thing that helps increase the number of possible farming setups for this Lotto event is the bonus damage for the event bonus servants. On the screen I have highlighted the DPS servants that will be useful for farming the 2 final best free quests, and as you can see there are quite a lot of them. Aside the bonus damage, they also get a bond bonus for this event, so for my farming setups I will prioritize the ones that use bond bonus servants. Since given the ludicrous amount of farming you are expected to do in this lottery event, you'll probably get quite a few extra bond levels. And that means new bond CE, or more importantly, free Saint Quartz. You'll need every last bit you can get for the next year. As a final note, I want to point out that Skadi is the only one of the 3 big supports with a bond bonus, so quick setup for this event are a step ahead when it comes to bond farming. Since we were talking about bonus servants, let's move on to the new welfare servant, Saber Karna. If for some unavoidable reasons you are busy during this event or you are starting late, be sure to at least get all you need in order to make Karna permanent and level him up to level 80 and NP5. If you focus only on him, you should be able to get all of it with 5 Lotto boxes. Of course, you'll want to farm more than this if you can, at least to 20 boxes to completely clear the event, as we'll see in a couple of minutes, and past that you'll want to still farm as much as your apples can allow you. Let's now compare Karna Saber to older welfare DPS. Among single target Saber or Berserker DPS with self-MP charge, he is the first quick unit since Hokusai is Arts and Jolter is Buster, but if you need a single target Saber nuke, Bedi has a bigger MP charge with a lower party cost, even if technically he is story locked, so not really a free unit. If instead we look at single target quick DPS with 20% targetable MP charge, in other words DPS that can both kill a mob and support the team with that targetable MP charge, then while Karna is the only Saber, the other 2 options are generally more useful in my opinion. In fact, Yu is a male killer with the special damage on her MP, and Santa Attila can also buff your other DPS with a targetable NP buff. So on the fly I can only think of one team where Karna can really show his value as a semi-support. Specifically, thanks to Karna, Frank can now loop with a base kaleidoscope with 2 Skadi. It's effectively a cheaper setup compared to Lancelot, that requires Weaver or Castoria, with higher damage thanks to Fran higher MP multiplier, but stricter refund to loop. For example, against enemy classes with lower MP refund. Before Karna, for a Fran looping setup, you needed a maximally unbroken kaleidoscope or lowered mana loading on Fran, which usually requires at least 10 Pichu, in order to get all the necessary coins. Furthermore, while you could use the Welfare BB, she wouldn't let you use Fran face cards in Room 1 and Room 3, if by chance they are needed. In that case, you needed Berserker Nightingale, which is a 5-star niche Buster support. Overall, for all these reasons, Fran has definitely gotten the best Christmas present from Karna. Continuing the trend of new servants, let's talk about the new SSR Vritra. The AoE section of the Lancer class is a very crowded place, and one that's full of very good units, so let's compare her only to other AoE Arts Lancer DPS, namely Fionn and Melt. Considering that level 90 plus nodes are the new standard for farming, I think Vritra is overall better than Melt. In fact, she can buff the secondary DPS in those nodes, charge herself without draining her teammates, and deal more damage than Melt in all rooms. Personally, I think her only fault is being permanent and dropping between Doman and Muramasa, as well as not being able to easily work as a universal arts farmer like Space Ishtar for example. But again, with the level 90 plus nodes and the new level 90 plus nodes in JP, the role of universal farmers is much weaker, since to reach certain damage numbers you'll need to have class advantage. So instead of investing on a single universal farmer, trying to get strong farmers from each of the basic classes is more future-proof. And let's not forget that it's more fun to try and use different servants, instead of only focusing on a single one. Going back to Vritra's strong points, she has effectively 50% self-NP charge over 3 turns for farming, which is split between instant charge and charge per turn. And this type of configuration is especially useful for irregular nodes. Yes, Melt has a bigger charge, but it's all instant and tied to her only strong attack buff, so you really want to save it for Room 3, and more importantly, it only works if she can drain the NP charge from her teammates, meaning a secondary DPS or a support Castoria usually won't be able to use their NPs. You will see what I mean when you look to my farming compositions for the level 90 plus mixed node for this event. Secondly, she has 2 AoE buffs for the party, 30% special damage to divine enemies, of which the archer class is full, and 20% NP damage buffs for 1 time over 5 turns. Again, having a DPS that can loop and also buff your teammates is vital in the level 90 plus nodes, which usually requires 2 DPS. For comparison, Fionn has the AoE NP gain buff, while Melt only has the Waterfield change, which is very situational, unlike her AoE NP drain, which is a very hard merit if you are trying to use a second DPS. Finally, Vritra has higher damage than Melt and Fionn at the same NP level. In fact, she has the highest attack stat among all Lancer servants, even on JP. Moving on to Vritra weak points, she has slightly worse refund than Melt, and while this usually doesn't matter in standard 3-3x farming nodes, it can be crucial if you want to use a single DPS in the level 90 plus farming nodes. Secondly, she is more rare than Melt and Fionn, so usually she has lower NP levels, but remember that she will outdamage NP2 Fionn and Melt even at NP1, and that being permanent she can spook us. Finally, next year we will get 2 other top tiers AoE Lancer Arts servants. 4-star Percival has the best NP refund, on top of a lot of utility for the team, and 5-star Ryoma has the best potential to work as a universal farmer, thanks to his ramping damage every turn. To summarize, Vritra is a very good servant among other very good servants, and that's about it. The only reason she is not strongly advised it's because there are both new and old servants that can basically do what she does, and because on top of being permanent she dropped between two broken units, and right before probably the worst year when it comes to saving Saint Quartz. Good luck to all of you, by the way, for next year. This Christmas event has also brought us the new rank up for Beowulf, which gives him sustained damage for 3 turns, and more importantly his own niche. Being a berserker, he is now a very solid pick when dealing with dragon or giant trait enemies, which are very common as mid-bosses in farming nodes and share the same trait with quite a bit of servants, as you can see from the list on the screen. In particular, if you have yet to clear Lost Belt 5.5, Ibuki Doji has both dragon and giant traits. Beowulf is still lacking an MP charge, so he won't replace your Kintoki, but still, against the right enemies, he is a very strong one-turn nuke. In fact, in a single turn he can stack 30% attack, 20% NP damage, 100% crit damage, 50% special damage, and finally he can produce 15 crit stars and absorb them for guaranteed crits. All of this on a Berserker DPS which works against all enemy classes aside Foreigner. Not bad at all. Now, if by some chance you'll want to roll for him or for Martha in the summoning banner of this event, then you will discover the dark side of the new PT system. Namely, they removed the rotating banners for SR, aka 4-star servants. In fact, for this event banner, Beowulf and Martha will be on split rate up all days. If you weren't aware, solo rate up for 4-star servants is notably worse than solo rate up for 5-star servants. In fact, when you summon a 5-star, you have 80% chance of getting the rate up servant, and only 20% chance of a spook. Instead, when you summon a 4-star servant, your chance of getting the one on rate up is equivalent to a coin toss, 50%. In other words, on average, when you summon on a banner with a 4-star on solo rate up, you will get spooked half of the time. Fortunately, after PT, they are still making separate banners with different 5-star on solo rate up, so when it comes to 5-star we are fine. But for this event we seem to have lost the solo rate up for 4-star servants, and this was exactly the case in the JP server once they added PT. This is a problem in particular for 4-star servants that are pretty rare, for example the summer servants, which usually get very few rate up. Their motivation for not doing a rotating solo banner for 4-stars is that it makes difficult to track your total number of summons for the new PT system for the same 5-star servant. However, if this is the case, they simply need to add separate banners, just like they did with the 5-star. Anyway, for now we are stuck with split rate up for SR servants, so how much of an impact this has on practice? First of all, the probability to summon a 4-star servant is 3%, but it's split on all SR servants available in the banner. With 3 servants on rate up, you have 0.7% chance of getting each one, lower than a 5-star on solo rate up for comparison. Instead, with 2 servants on split rate up, you have 1.2% chance of getting each one. This is our situation at the moment. If they give us back solo rate up for 4-stars, we will have instead 1.5% chance of getting the rate up servant. In other words, with solo rate up, you will have a 25% increase to the chance of getting the desired SR servant. This is not a small amount. In fact, this percentage increase is greater than what PT give us for 5-star servants, as you will see in a moment. The only positive note of split rate up for 4-star servants is that you have the lowest chance of getting spooked by a 4-star outside of the banner. In other words, in the past, if you were interested in both SR on a summoning banner, to be optimal you would have to first summon on the split banner to minimize the chance of getting a spook. Then, after getting the first SR on the split rate up banner, you will wait for the solo rate up for the other SR servant. I wanted to share this tip in the case we'll get the solo rate up for 4-star back. Now let's quickly compare the percentage increase of success probability with the addition of PT for solo rate up for 5-star servants, and with the possible future return of solo rate up for 4-star servants. First of all, with 330 summons, aka 900 quartz, only around 7% of the players will hit PT, and until then PT won't help you in any way. In other words, the percentage increase is 0% if you spend less than 900 quartz in the same banner. Only on the final summon, your success probability will jump from 93% to 100%, so you will get a 7.6% increase. Instead, for 4 stars, when going from split rate up to solo rate up, with the first summon you jump from 1.2% to 1.5%, as we have seen before, and that is a 25% increase. With 2 summons, the percentage increase becomes 24.8%, and if we keep going until 143 summons, aka 390 quartz, the percentage increase is the same 7.6% of the PT. The percentage increase becomes smaller the more you summon, because in both cases your success probability will approach the same limit of 100%, so the difference between the two becomes smaller the more you summon. This is the power of the whales and their money, guys. To summarize, reaching 900 quartz on a single banner is not easy for the average player, and until then, PT won't help you in any way, so spending is incentivized. Instead, SR solo rate up will increase your success probability by a greater percentage compared to SSR PT, and this all the way until 390 quartz spent. Hopefully this will help you understand why JP players were mad at the time, and why now we also have the same reason to be mad, since if they wanted they could fix it by simply adding separate banners even for 4 stars. Before going over the lottery, just a quick tip regarding the event limited common codes. First of all, the 4-star one has situationally the best critical damage buff if you are facing dragon trait enemies, so for example now it is very good on Beowulf after his rank up. But more importantly, I want to talk about the Arjuna common code, which in my opinion is among the best common codes for solo servants, because it combines star generation and healing, the two things you'll need the most when going solo. Crits are the key to spam your NP and also deal more damage, while extra healing is usually required or very much appreciated. Arjuna common code is the second absolute best for star generation. It only loses to Santa Artoria common code, and it's also the second best healing common code, losing only to Jean common code and being on the same level of Narrow Bride common code and Fu common code. I want to point out that these other common codes I've mentioned only give you one thing, either healing or stars. Instead, Arjuna common code gives you both, and it's the second best for both. For these reasons, Arjuna common code is definitely one of the best solo common codes. One that I for sure will use every time when trying to solo challenge quests. Moving on to the event lottery, aside the usual stuff, including Karna ticket and Ascension Materials, from this lottery you will get 2 types of special currencies. First of all, black presents, which are required in order to unlock new main quests and new free quests. You can get them from the lottery, and also a decent amount from Santa Matches, which are one-time quests that still require to spin the lottery, since to enter you'll need the next special currency, which you can get only from the lottery. In other words, spinning the lottery is required in order to unlock the best free quest to farm and spin the lottery more. Black presents are also used in the special lottery for this event, that gives Ascension Materials, but more importantly, a lore, a summon ticket, a rare prism and some quartz. Finally, as I have anticipated, from the lottery you can also get Christmas gongs, which will be required in order to get NP5 Karna and for entering Santa Matches. You can also exchange them for common code openers in the event shop, and all the extra one will give you 500,000 copies. To summarize things, if maybe you are starting late, minimum 5 boxes are required for Karna welfare, if you disregard everything else. Instead, to fully clear the event, you'll need 20 Lotto boxes. This is the minimum amount in order to get all black presents for the special lottery. Of course, farming more is highly advised, since unlimited lottery is a big chance to stockpile everything you may need in the future, like copies, Ascension Materials and skill gems, which are required for the new append skills, embers, which will be needed for leveling your servants and to try and reach level 120, and finally friend points to level up your CEs and for grail casting in the future. Thank God they added the 100 spin button early, which is a great quality of life addition. It means less time spinning the lotto, but more importantly less management of the present box, since you will get bigger stacks of embers, which will also make the present box more efficient when it comes to keeping stock of embers for the future. If you don't see the 100 spin button, don't worry, it should unlock after clearing 10 boxes. When it comes to the event free quests, even if you have enough black presents, the event is time gated, so you should wait until day 6 or day 7 before using your apples to farm. In fact, for max efficiency you want to focus on the heavyweight node, the level 90 single lotto node that will unlock on day 6, or on the super heavyweight node, the level 90 plus mixed node that will unlock on day 7. These are the 2 nodes for which I have compiled my farming setups in the third and final part of this video. We'll start talking about farming efficiency in a couple of seconds, so for now I'll just say that these 2 nodes has the same best drop rate for Lotto currency, and that's why you should only really use your apples on them. In this second part of the video we will focus on farming efficiency, namely what's the best way to clear the event shop, and what are the differences when it comes to Lotto farming between the level 90 single node and the level 90 plus mixed node. Let's go over the shop first very quickly. Since this event has a lottery, no matter the situation, the most efficient way to clear the event shop is by farming the super heavyweight node, the level 90 plus mixed node. Moreover, you shouldn't use any gacha CEs while farming this node, unless you are still lacking some Lotto CEs or you have just musliming broken one. So you should have one free slot for CE in your party. The reason is because of course you want to focus on the lottery, maximizing your Lotto drop bonus, and if you spend enough golden apple as you should, clearing the event shop should come naturally. If for some reason you can't farm enough and you just want to clear the event shop quickly, using gacha CEs to help you, then the final super heavyweight node is still the best choice over the earlier nodes that focus only on a single shop currency. Again, even if you completely disregard the better drop rate for Lotto currency of the super heavyweight node compared to these single nodes. In fact, when it comes to shop currencies, the final mixed node is the best of the entire year. it's basically equal to the mixed node of the other lottery we have gotten this year, the dance tournament in the Land of Shadows. Usually I will give you the complete rule with either an inequality or a graph, but since this time the focus is on the lottery, when it comes to shop currencies I will only give you the two simplified rules, as you should be accustomed to from my past videos. In practice, assuming you still need all three currencies to clear the event shop, and you are focusing on using the gacha CEs if possible, then the worst case is when you can use max 3 base gacha CEs in the mixed node, since even free-to-player setup will have 3 slots available for CEs. In this worst case, you should consider farming single nodes over the final mixed node, only if your single drop bonus for those single nodes is at least 5. For the drop bonus, just count the number of gacha CE in your party, remembering that maximally broken copies count as 2. Jumping all over to the best case, in which you can use all the CEs for the single node, even for the harder mixed node, meaning you can afford good farming setups even for the mixed node. For this reason, your total mixed drop bonus for the mixed node is equal or higher than the single drop bonus for the single nodes. In this best case, you should consider farming the single nodes over the mixed node, only if your single drop bonus for the single nodes is at least 7. I've put the emphasis on considering, since even with a higher single drop bonus, you will need to use the complete rule like in my previous farming videos, in order to compare the single nodes to the mixed node. Instead, if you can't reach at least this drop bonus for the single nodes, then for sure the final mixed node is better. Again, this should really shows why this mixed node is the best of the entire year. Moving on to farming for the lottery, the heavyweight and super heavyweight nodes have the same drop rate for Lotto currency, so you should farm the one for which you can afford the highest drop bonus, aka the one for which you can bring more Lotto CE in your party. If instead you can afford the same drop bonus for both nodes, then the final mixed node has some advantages, over which we will go over in details. In order, a higher drop rate for the Lotto CE, meaning farming the mixed node will increase your drop bonus more quickly with less apples spent, meaning with the same amount of apples you'll be able to spin the lottery more. Secondly, it drops better Ascension Materials, and it has better drop rates for them. Moreover, the shop currencies dropped can be converted in QPs after the end of the event, and of course after clearing the event shop. Finally, the final mixed node can be a good place to farm bond for single target DPS, which usually don't get a role in traditional farming setups. And remember, bond levels mean more Saint Quartz to summon. This will be even more efficient if you can use the event bonus servants, which get a bond bonus. Before giving you the graphs with the numbers, let's take a look at the amount of free golden apples you will get from this event. Assuming master level 150, since Lost Belt 5.5 just dropped, then in the 9 days after the 2 best Lotto nodes unlock, you'll get around 18.3 golden apples of natural AP regeneration. By rolling at least 20 Lotto boxes to complete the event, you will get around 35 golden apples. After these 20 Lotto boxes, you will get 1 free golden apple for each 4.7 extra Lotto boxes, since all the boxes will contain bronze apples, meaning the more you farm, the more you'll be able to farm. Finally, there is a potential for 10 extra golden apples, leveling up your master level from 150 to 160, since leveling up will replenish your APs. So, when taking a look at the graphs in the following part of this video, remember to consider this amount of free apples you will get from farming this event, adding it to the amount of golden apples you already have. If you have reached or will reach during this event master level 153 or 157, then when looking at the following graphs, simply give yourself one free golden apple for each 142 or each 71 golden apples in the following graphs, since at these two levels you will get +1 max AP, so your apples becomes slightly more efficient. Don't worry too much about it if you can't spend a very ludicrous amount of golden apples in this event, or rainbow's apples if you are a whale. Previously I've stressed upon the fact that the level 90 Lotto node and the level 90 plus mixed node have basically the same best drop rate for Lotto currency. If you were to take a look at the numbers we have gotten from the JP server, some of you may argue that the level 90 Lotto node has slightly better drop rate, which scales better the higher the drop bonus from Lotto CEs. So here's why this difference is completely negligible in practice. Assuming max Lotto drop bonus, aka +12, I have plotted in the graph on the screen the extra lottery boxes that the heavyweight node will give you over the super heavyweight node, depending on the golden apples you have spent. As you can see, even with max drop bonus of +12 and 1000 golden apples spent, you'll get on average less than one extra Lotto box. So yeah, those two nodes are equivalent when it comes to Lotto currency. When instead it comes to the drop rate for the Lotto CE, it's 2.3 for the heavyweight node and a bigger 2.6% for the super heavyweight node. In the graph below, I've plotted the number of CE drop that you can expect on average depending on the number of golden apples you have spent for both the level 90 single node and the level 90 plus mixed node. Since you'll get only 4 Lotto CEs from the shop, for max efficiency wait until getting 4 Lotto CE drops before max limit breaking your first copy. Following this max efficiency criteria, the orange dashed dotted lines on the graph show when you'll get an extra max limit broken Lotto CE, from the first one at 4 CE drops to the fifth and final one at 21 CE drops. Basically, for max efficiency, max limit break one extra copy each 4 drops. For the final one you will need one extra drop, but right before that point you only have one CE slot in your party with a base CE, so you are simply max limit breaking it as soon as possible. The green dashed lines on the graph show when you'll get an extra drop bonus, basically on your first CE drop, and one drop after each new max limit broken CE, aside of course for the fifth and final one, for which it's the max limit breaking that will increase the drop bonus, reaching the max of +12. Of course, assuming you are taking a max limit broken CE from support. Remember that between each orange line, aka max limit broken CE, and the next green line, aka next CE drop, you can use one gacha CE or bond CE in your party to fill the free CE slot you have gotten by max limit breaking. In practice, mixed node compared to single node will save you on average 5.7 golden apples for the first max limit broken CE and 29.7 golden apples for the final max limit broken CE. As I have already pointed out before, these apples you have saved will let you farm more with higher drop bonus, increasing your efficiency and letting you spin the lottery more. Moreover, getting a max limit broken copy early will let you use some other farming setups, potentially increasing the bond bonus you'll get by bringing event bonus servants that to work in that node need a max limit broken CE. You will see what I mean in the final part of this video covering the farming setups. So far I've only given you mean values, So now let's take a quick look at the statistical fluctuations for the final mixed node. The binomial standard deviation for CE drops at fixed apples spent is plotted in the graph below as a light blue line around the mean value of CE drops. As you can see, the deviation of CE drops will be within plus and minus 1 maximally unbroken Lotto CE on average, increasing of course with the number of apples spent. Using instead the Pascal distribution for the standard deviation of the golden apples spent at fixed CE drops, you can expect 43 plus minus 21 golden apples spent for the first maximally unbroken CE, and 228 plus minus 49 golden apples spent for the fifth and final maximally unbroken CE. In other words, with the 35 free golden apples you'll get from spinning the first 20 boxes, you can almost get one extra maximally unbroken CE. Comparing now the Ascension Materials between the two nodes, as you can see from the table on the screen, overall mixed node is more efficient than single node when it comes to AP for each drop compared to the best free quests available. Furthermore, single node drops are redundant, since horseshoes are included in the lottery, and personally I'm already full of them from previous lotteries. Speaking of redundant, both nodes drops Leyline Spiritron, which can also be exchanged with the tickets from the lottery, but again mixed node has a better drop rate for them. Finally, the mixed node also drops hearts, which are needed in large amounts if you started playing recently. Overall, when it comes to materials dropped, the mixed node is clearly better for me. Moving on to QP farming, as I've said before, the mixed node drops shop currencies which can be converted in QPs after clearing the event shop. So, assuming no gacha CEs in your party, on average you'll get 500,000 QPs for each golden apple spent. This is the slope of the line in the graph showed on the screen. This number would slightly increase with gacha CE usage, but as I have stated before, for max efficiency you can only use them after maximally breaking one Lotto CE and before getting your next drop of Lotto CE. And even then you'll probably be better off bringing bond bonus CE, since the QP increase is very minimal. With the 35 free golden apple from the event, if you complete it by spinning at least 20 Lotto boxes, you will get on average around 17.5 million QPs. And the more you farm, the more QPs you'll get. Remember that QP health is really bottomless in FGO. To conclude this second part of the video, the last difference between heavyweight and super heavyweight node is about farming bond levels with different servants, which will depend on the servants available to each one of you. The heavyweight node is a standard 333 node, so standard loopers or AoE DPS will be used here. You can check on the screen right now the list of DPS that will be featured in my farming compositions. Instead, the super heavyweight node has a 2-1-2 layout of enemies, so usually for this node you'll want to bring even one single target DPS. Again, you can check the screen right now for the list of DPS featured in my farming compositions. We are now in the third and final part of this video, featuring my farming compositions for the single level 90 node and the final mixed level 90 plus node. As usual, I will put here some important farming tips together with the assumption I've used in my calculations. In particular, I've always assumed level 20 for the Lotto CE for both base copies and maximally unbroken copies. Given that it doesn't have pure attack stat, you won't really get a noticeable amount of extra damage if you level it up to 100. To help you find your best personal farming setup, here you can check how to read this guide. First of all, you will only find 6-slot setup in this guide. Moreover, I will prioritize setups that don't require any maximally unbroken CE to work. If I remember correctly, I've only used at most 2 maximum broken CEs, but usually you will find setups that don't require any maximum broken CE or that require at most 1 maximum broken copy. For free-to-player setup in particular, you can swap any Lotto CE that you don't have with a free starting NP charge CE. For both farming nodes, I will list in order Arts setups, followed by Quick setups, then Buster setups, and finally free-to-player setups. But there will be some differences between the two nodes. For the heavyweight node, I will give you standard Arts looping setup first, then standard quick looping setup, followed by semi-quick looping setups that use Gong. Then I'll move on to Buster looping setups, which by the way will also use Gong in room 1, and finally the free-to-player setups. Instead, for the super heavyweight node, I will repeat this pattern of looping setups that use only 1 DPS, again in the order Arts, Quick, Buster, even if only Voyager works for Quick and only Lartoria works for Buster. Then I will list the semi-looping setups, meaning setups that use 2 DPS, of which only 1 will loop, and only in room 1 and 3. Again, in order I will list Arts semi-looping setup, then Quick, and finally Buster, depending on the card type of the semi-DPS which will loop. Finally, I will list farming compositions that use 3 different DPS, 1 for each room. And again, to maintain the order Arts, Quick, Buster, this time I will list first the ones that use Castoria as support, followed by the ones that use Skadi, and finally the ones that use Merlin. At the end of it all, I will list the free-to-player setups. Now, when it comes to the order of the different DPS used in each one of these sections, for both heavyweight and super heavyweight farming nodes, for the standard looping setups that use only 1 DPS, I will consider first of all the total bond bonus of the team, aka how many bonus servants you can bring to the party. Then how many mystic codes you can use, how cheap is the party when it comes to rarity of supports and DPS, and finally the damage. The list of DPS will be in a decreasing order for all of these values. Furthermore, for each one of the listed DPS, I will give multiple setups, starting with the ones without any maximum broken CE, followed by setups with different mystic codes or supports that becomes available thanks to 1 maximum broken copy of the Lotto CE. Instead, when it comes to semi-looping setups, which use 2 different DPS, Gong included for the heavyweight node, and no looping setups that use 3 different DPS, I will start with DPS that can work with only base Lotto CE, then I will add mana loading to the mix and see which new DPS becomes available, and finally from there I will start adding 1 or 2 maximum broken CE, every time again checking if there are new DPS available, including with the increasing numbers of append skills. Hopefully with this explanation you'll be able to find the best farming setups for you more easily. I will probably put a link in the description below from which you can download a PDF file listing all the farming setups. Otherwise you can find them at the end of this video, where each farming setups will stay on the screen for only 5 seconds. That way you can simply stop the video once you find the best setup for you, since they are ordered in a decreasing efficiency. And remember to use timestamps to skip around if necessary. As a final tip, thanks to Skadi being a bonus servant, quick setups will have the best bond bonus, and more bonds means more Saint Quartz for next year. Speaking of which, since you won't hear from me for quite a long time, I wish you good luck for your summons in the coming year, even if probably it will be the most salty year so far, so we can all use more luck. If you have found this type of content useful, please let me know by leaving a like, a comment or subscribing to the channel. That way I will try my best to come back when I have more spare time. Anyway, I will now leave you to the farming setups. Thank you very much for watching. I will hopefully see you next time. Bye bye.